Spring football has finally arrived, and I get to talk about something that's not related to conference realignment. Neal Brown had his opening spring football press conference today, and I'm going to react. So pull up a chair, sit back, relax, and let's talk about it. What is up, college sports fans, fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Couz. Welcome into another edition of Couz's Corner. Pull that chair up and let me serve you up this shot of top-shelf college football content. On tap in today's episode, we're going back to talking West Virginia Mountaineer football, and we're getting back to talking about stuff actually on the field. Isn't it nice? Isn't it nice? Spring football has arrived. You can smell it in the air. It's here, baby. Anyway, let's get on with the show. Neal Brown had his opening press conference today for spring ball, talked about offense, defense, some of their goals for the spring, some different position battles and things like that. So I'm going to get into that and kind of react to some of the key takeaways I got from this press conference. Number one, he made a comment that a lot of people on social media have reacted to, including myself, saying this is real, and I'm paraphrasing, saying this is his first opportunity to fix it. When I first saw that sentence on social media, I thought, first opportunity, it's year 5 for crying out loud. It's not their first opportunity to fix it. But once I had a chance to actually watch the press conference and listen to it in context, what he meant was, it's his first opportunity of this year. He wasn't talking about all 4 years as a whole. He was talking about last year. At least that's the way I interpreted his comments. But moving on, let's talk about the offensive side of the ball first. Number one, it's obvious. He mentioned it again today. They're going to be a run-first football team. They have an experienced offensive line, an experienced and deep running back room. So they obviously are going to lean on their run game. He also talked about how they have a running quarterback for the first time since he's been at West Virginia. Whether it be Nicco Marchiol or Garrett Greene as a starter, both of those guys can run the football, whether it be in an RPO situation or they just call a run play for the quarterback. Regardless, that's another weapon they will be able to have in their arsenal this year that they haven't had yet. JT Daniels, Jarrett Dagey, Austin Kendall, none of those guys were running quarterbacks. So it's going to be a nice change. Most of us fans have been screaming for that. We're finally going to get it regardless of who's a starter. He even talked about how he wants to be able to use multiple running backs on the field at the same time. Take advantage of that running back depth. Not the first time we've heard that, and it's something most of us have kind of expected. The one thing I'm wondering, will he completely pull away from the air raid scheme and air raid system and go totally over to a more of a traditional spread offense with RPO? Or is he going to still use air raid principles and just run the ball more? Which is it going to be? I'll be anxious to see which one it is. I hope he moves completely away from the air raid. Yes, there are some explosive offenses out there who make it look good, but it has not worked at West Virginia and it has not worked under Neal Brown. So I hope they move to something totally different. Let Chad Scott put his spin on this offense and let's run the football. Whether I don't necessarily want it to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust like the old days, but I do want to see them use their strengths. Whether it be C.J. Donaldson, whether it be Jalen Anderson, whether it be Justin Johnson, or even Tony Mathis, use those guys, take advantage of what you got, and those big hogs up front, and let them move people out of the way. Now, talking about the quarterback position, this is kind of a controversial take here. Not really controversial, but this is the one position everybody wants to talk about, right? Neal did not mention the quarterback in his opening monologue, but he did answer questions about it. He said he's going to make a decision on the starting quarterback in the fall. He's not going to rush. He's going to give guys equal reps in the spring. Let it play out, see who wins the job. Now, I don't know if I buy that. There are multiple reports coming out of Morgantown that I have heard that the job is basically Nicco Marchiol's already. You can believe that if you want to. I didn't at first, but then since I heard it the first time, I've now heard it from 2 other sources. That Nicco Marchiol is basically already being treated as a starting quarterback, not only with the coaching staff, but by the players as well. Now, does that mean Garrett Greene's not going to get a shot? No, but my opinion is unless Garrett Greene totally just looks a whole lot better than Nicco, and it's not even a question, I think Nicco's going to be the starter. If it's remotely close in the spring or even in fall camp as far as the quarterback competition, I think Nicco's our guy. I don't know if that's good or bad. I guess we'll find out come the season. But all indications are, based on reports I'm getting out of Morgantown, based on multiple sources, all indications are Nicco Marchiol will be the starting quarterback in the fall. We will see. The wide receiver position, we all know that's a position of need for the Mountaineers. They lost their top 4 receivers either to the pros or to the transfer portal. Have very, very little production coming back. They did go out in the portal and get Devin Carter from North Carolina State. Coach Brown said he has a really good shot to step up and be the number one guy in that room. He's obviously the most experienced guy in that room. They also have Cortez Braham coming back. They have Jeremiah Aaron coming back. Either of those guys could step up. I think they've got Jarrell Williams coming back by all indications. Haven't heard much about him since he's gotten on campus, but he was on the roster last year nonetheless, so he should be back. Also, very interesting news that Coach Brown talked about in his presser. They are moving Davis Mallinger from safety to wide receiver. Davis Mallinger, it's been well talked about in multiple press conferences in the past that Davis Mallinger might be one of the fastest guys on the team. Coach Brown said they want that speed at wide receiver, so they're moving Davis Mallinger to receiver. He played it in high school, so it's not new to him, but it will be new at the college level. It'll be very interesting to see how Davis Mallinger translates as a wide receiver at the Power 5 level. Now, is this a move of necessity? Is this a desperation move because they haven't been able to find anybody out of the portal? Or is this simply the case of, hey, we're going to be so good in the defensive secondary this year or so much better than we were last year, we don't really need him there. He's much more valuable to us at wide receiver. Now, Davis Mallinger is injured or got injured last year, missed the last 4 games with an injury. He's still recovering from that injury. So Coach Brown said he will not be participating in spring ball. So even though he's switching positions and he's going to be behind a little bit. So to me, Davis Mallinger is going to go into fall camp behind the 8 ball already because he's playing a new position and he won't get to practice it in the spring. But hopefully he won't be too far away. I hope he's able to transition well because we do need that speed at that position. Now, another interesting tidbit, I'm not sure how many people picked up on this, but when he was going down the list talking about different wide receivers that might step up, he mentioned Hudson Clement. Now, for those of you who don't know, Hudson Clement is a former star wide receiver from Martinsburg High School right here in the state of West Virginia. It's my understanding he was a walk-on last year for the 2022 season. He redshirted. Now, he was listed, or he won the Randy Moss Award in 2021 for being the best receiver in West Virginia high school football. So he's a really good player. According to Coach Brown, he had a really good offseason. Maybe he steps up and earns a scholarship, plays more of a role in the offense, actually on the offensive side of the ball as a receiver. Maybe Preston Fox steps up and earns, maybe Preston Fox steps up and plays better, contributes more on the field. Grayson Malashevich is going to be out this spring, but maybe he steps up and is able to produce more on the offensive side. Be interesting to see. He talked a lot about the offensive line, some of their plans there. This obviously is going to be one of the most experienced positions on the team, if not the most experienced positions on the team, and should be, by all accounts, the strongest position on this football team, especially on the offensive side. He talked about how they should have one of the most experienced offensive lines in the league. They plan on moving a lot of guys around up front. Brandon Yates, Jaquay Hubbard, Doug Nexter, they plan on moving some of those guys around. Wyatt Milam is going to be – they're going to keep him solid at that left tackle position. He didn't mention moving Zach Frazier around, but pretty much everyone else is going to be moved around and tried at different spots because they want to find their best 5 offensive linemen for when they start the season against Penn State. They want their best 5 out there. Now, I have mixed feelings about this. I'm not a huge fan of moving the guys around all that much. I think you need to put them in one position, find the position they're best at, put them there, let them practice there, and get as many reps at that position as possible. Help them perfect their craft at that position. I understand you want versatility, guys that play multiple roles, but to me, taking away snaps at the position they're going to be playing the most is hindering their growth. But there again, I'm not a Division I football coach, so what the heck do I know, right? Now, let's move over to the defensive side. Coach Brown says they've simplified the scheme for the defensive side of the football. That's something last year. I don't know if I said it on my show, but I definitely said it in conversations with people. I feel like a lot of those new guys, the transfers and the freshmen, were having a hard time picking up the defense. It looked like they were having to think too much, and they were finding themselves reacting slowly and out of position a lot. So I'm glad they're doing this. I'm glad they're simplifying things and getting back to basics. He said they didn't meet the standard last year. Well, no duh. We all knew that. You were bottom of the country in most defensive categories. But he didn't hide from it. So give Coach Brown kudos. He did not hide from that. He said they have a long way to go. They didn't meet the standard, but he does expect their defensive secondary, which was one of the weaker spots on the team, to be a much improved position this year. And when talking about guys that would step up in leadership roles this year, he specifically talked about Sean Martin glowingly. He said Sean Martin has all 3 traits you need in a good leader. He's one of the best players on the team. He's one of the hardest workers on the team, and he's one of the best people on the team. So he said, you take all three of those things combined, Sean Martin should be able to step up, be a good leader, and somebody the other defensive players can look up to, especially on that defensive front. He also talked about some of the following guys. Lee Coba said he's ready to make a big jump in 23. Some other guys he said should make jumps in 23. Jared Bartlett at the bandit position says he's had a really good offseason. He thinks Aubrey Burks, who was already one of the best players on the defense last year as a redshirt freshman, he expects him to step up and have an even better year. Says he understands the defense even better now, so which means things should slow down for him. And he talked about Jacoby Spells, who was a very talented freshman last year, who kind of got thrown to the wolves a little bit. He expects Spells to step up and contribute even more and be an even better player in 2023 for the Mountaineers at that corner spot. Now, when asked about the transfer portal, Coach Brown says he expects they're going to look at probably getting another defensive lineman in the portal. They may look at another secondary player in the portal because we know they brought on Montre Miller from Kent State and Keyshawn Cobb out of Buffalo. Both of those guys are expected to contribute and contribute a lot. But he says they still got room to get one more, and they could potentially go get a wide receiver, depending on how things play out in the spring, if they decide they need one or not. But he doesn't want to carry a bunch of receivers like they did in the past. They don't want to have 12 or 13 receivers on the team because you can't keep them all happy and they end up leaving anyway. So that's my biggest takeaways from Neal Brown's press conference. For those of you who were able to watch that press conference, what were your biggest takeaways? And I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the quarterback position? Do you think Nicco ends up being the guy, or do you think it ends up being Garrett Greene? Do you believe the scuttlebutt coming out of Morgantown that Nicco Marchiol has basically already been given the job and it's basically his to lose? I want to hear your thoughts on that. Or just let me know overall what you think about Neal Brown's press conference and about the start of spring football. Are you glad spring football is finally here and we can finally talk about something besides conference realignment? Guys, if you want to support me on the show here, there's several ways you can do that financially. Number one, go check out Blue Ridge Coffee Crafters. I've got the link to their store in my description box. Get you some all-natural coffee that comes from hand-picked coffee beans. There's no chemicals in this coffee. Very smooth coffee, so go check it out. Whatever you buy, put Couz's, C-O-U-Z', in the comment section. I'll get a small commission from the sale. You can also check out my merch store. I've got ball caps. I've got tank tops. I've got T-shirts. I've got hoodies. I've got stickers. I've got a lot of different items to choose from, several different designs, including my channel logo over there. Or you can show off your Big 12 pride by getting one that says proud member of the Truck Stop Conference. Also, you can hit the heart thanks button right below this video, make a one-time donation. You can join my channel, become a member of Couz's Corner, take advantage of the perks that has to offer, which, by the way, I'm going to be announcing a special giveaway for my 5,000 subscribers here shortly. And last but not least, if you want to support me for free, there are several ways you can do that. You can hit the thumbs up button, which is a like on this video. You can share it out with your friends. You can drop the comment that I mentioned earlier. And last but not least, subscribe to my channel. My next big number is 5,000. Like I said, I've got a special thing planned for my channel members and even a few subscribers once I hit my 5,000 subscriber number. But I've got to get there, okay? I'm going to be giving away some prizes. A little less than 200 away from 5,000, but I need your help to get there. With that being said, I really appreciate you tuning into this episode. And until the next one, Q Country Roads.